Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of my Sheikra recreation series in Planet Coaster. This time, we will be beginning to build the custom support structure. We will also discuss theme park news, mainly in Florida, but maybe in some of the major parks in other states as well. So let's jump right into this. And now we are in the park. So this time, we're not going to get super far with custom supporting, but custom supporting will not be the only thing we do this episode. We will be doing some more track work modifications, because I started to realize that not everything was lining up properly, which you'll see in a little bit. But we will only get to custom support down to about the bottom of the first drop and the pullout to the amusement. But then in the next one, we will get to the back half of the layout. And I will not be doing any custom supporting for the splashdown tunnel effect or the overbank turn over the smokehouse. I'm going to wait for a little bit later once that infrastructure is in and I kind of have an idea of how the terrain will work and how tall the building is to build those custom supports. But for now, we are just doing really the first little portion of the layout. So while we are building, why don't we begin discussing some of the theme park news around Florida, starting at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay. Recently, the Kangaloom exhibit, which had been closed for a refurbishment, has reopened at Busch Gardens. Although I did not get to visit the Kangaloom on my last visit, I can say it looks pretty nice from some of the pictures I've seen. Of course, it doesn't match up exactly to the concept art, and that is kind of unfortunate, as the concept art looked really nice and clean, and this looks pretty good, at least as far as inside where the actual kangaroos are. But the outside facade looks a little bit smaller than I expected. But I will make my final judgments when I get a chance to visit. As for Phoenix Rising, upon riding the Sky Ride for my first time in a very long time on my last park visit, which was only a couple days ago as of when I'm recording this, and I posted a couple videos on my Instagram updating everyone about the construction so far, and not much has really happened. We saw that they installed the final brake run and station track, and that was really about it. And then when the last time I was there, they had begun to install some of the supports and catwalk on the lift structure, and they look to be about 3/4 of the way done with that, but they are moving very slowly. And, as I mentioned before, I did get to ride the Sky Ride, so obviously that has finally reopened after a close to 5-year closure at this point. It's been a long time since we were able to ride the Sky Ride. Right now, many of the rides have been undergoing periodical annual maintenance. Currently, I believe Cobra's Curse is the ride that is receiving its maintenance now. We do not know when it will reopen, although it shouldn't be too long, probably about a week or so. And for those of you visiting Busch Gardens, the Sky Ride will open a half an hour after the park opens and close an hour before the park closes. As for right now, as it is kind of the off-season, and much of the park will not be open until 10:30. The only attractions that will be open at 10 when Busch Gardens opens are going to be Montu, Cobra's Curse, after its maintenance, Cheetah Hunt, and I believe Iron Gwazi. Now, let's move on to SeaWorld Orlando. Let's begin with what everyone probably really cares about, that being the new B&M family coaster, Penguin Trek. The ride has seen major advancements in the past few weeks, as the work walls by the path that cuts around Manta to Journey to Atlantis have been removed, giving us a good look at the back half of the layout of the ride. And also, the pathway leading from the main park back to the seals and sea lion feeding area, called Pacific Point, has reopened, giving us another really good up-close look at the ride. Unfortunately, the ride had not started testing as of when I was last there, but they did seem very close, just that they had to finish maybe 8 to 10 more supports, or not supports, but finish sealing up the footers for 8 to 10 more supports. So they're getting very close as far as outside. It appeared that the brakes, they were either depressurizing them or there was a leak in the airline, as compressed air could be heard hissing out for almost 2 to 3 days straight. And we also saw the ride envelope tester sitting next to the final brake run. So the ride is advancing pretty quickly as far as getting closer and closer to testing and opening. And we'll keep an eye, and I seriously can't wait to ride it. As for the rest of SeaWorld, not too much going on. The Orca Stadium has reopened after its refurbishment. The new statues and entrance sign look absolutely amazing. But other than that, Seven Seas Food Festival continues until May 19th. And the food there, I got to try 10 items, and yeah, they were all pretty decent to really good. But that's all for SeaWorld. Now let's head over to Universal Orlando. And at Islands of Adventure, not much has been happening at the moment, other than just some of the basic refreshes the park has been seeing. But over in Universal, DreamWorks Land is continuing to advance very quickly, with some of the more generalized meet and greet spaces receiving their signs, foliage being added to Shrek's swamp meet in his house, more ropes and other play activities being added to Shrek's climbing course. Some more detailing being added to the exterior of the Kung Fu Panda play area. And, in good news, the Trolls Troller Coaster has begun testing. We got a good look at the new Catterbus trains the other day. And I personally think that they look pretty cool. They definitely fit the Trolls theme. And I don't know, I just really like them. I think that they're a very neat little addition, and they definitely, as I said, match the theme very well. Also, those hexagon bug-looking eyes are, like, really neat, so. Also, just last week, we received the first spec map for HHN 33. And yeah, it looks pretty good. Both Ghostbusters and Nightmare Before Elm Street, or symbols that would represent them, were on the spec map. So those two houses that were rumored earlier this year are looking pretty likely, although it is just a spec map, so it's not, you know, like the official announcement. Universal didn't make this announcement. This is just something that people have compiled through rumors and speculation of what could come this year. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks like we might get something. It's got a mute button, maybe Silence of the Lambs or The Quiet Place. Could see a scare zone based off of, or not a scare zone, I'm sorry, a house based off of the scare zone Sweet Revenge from a couple years ago. So, definitely looks like a very jam-packed year as always. Next, why don't we talk about Epic Universe? So, a lot has actually been done in the past few weeks as far as testing has gone. All major, or not just major, all coasters at Epic Universe are now testing. So, Werewolf, Curse of the Werewolf spinning coaster has been testing for a few months now at this point, or about a month to a month and a half. Donkey Kong Minecart Madness was spotted testing a couple nights ago. The other day, the Hiccups Wing Gliders Intamin Launch Coaster and How to Train Your Dragon Land has also been spotted testing. And then just last night, Wesh 2, I believe, one of the news channels, caught some amazing drone footage of the yellow track being tested on Starfall Racers. And wow, does that train absolutely haul through that course. And honestly, Starfall Racers looks like it could take the spot as one of the best coasters in the world, because it really just looks like such an amazing attraction. Like, just watching the ride test and watching it go over those multiple back-to-back airtime hills and through that swooping turn in front of the station just looks amazing. And it even flies through that first airtime hill camelback coming out of the first launch. As for the rest of Epic Universe, more theming and details are being added to all the buildings. Some of the food stalls in Dragon's Land are being painted. The Burning Blade Tavern has seen scaffolding go up, so maybe the rotor blades for the windmill will begin to be installed soon. In Super Nintendo World, Donkey Kong jungle area is reaching even higher levels of theming. In Celestial Park, just more and more theming pieces and details and pathwork are going in everywhere. A lot of the Parisian streets in Harry Potter Land are being finished up. And just overall, Epic Universe is coming together and looking like an absolutely phenomenal theme park. More so than it did in the initial concept art and early building plans. Also, if you are visiting Universal Orlando, do not forget that Mardi Gras is still happening over in the studios. And that will be happening until April 7th. And one more piece of news from the studios. Unfortunately, the Monster Makeover experience, where you can get your face painted to look like one of the Universal monsters, or any monster really, will be closing permanently on April 7th with Mardi Gras. Although, we'll probably see it return at Epic Universe, as this is probably just a test bed for that. So now back to the game for a sec. As you see, I have gotten from the initial dispatch point from the station up to the dive drop portion. I'm trying to make this as accurate as possible to the real Sheikra. Obviously, my shaping of the ride is a little bit different than the actual coaster attraction, unfortunately, just because of the way that, like, I can't get it exact. So some of the supports don't line up exactly where they are in real life. But I tried to make it as realistic as possible and tried to add some of the, additional larger spine segments that are actually, on the ride that allow the supports to attach properly. Because I want this to look and feel like the real Sheikra. Now, let's move out of the US for a second and talk about Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers. I've been kind of following this project since the beginning. Just like, not publicly, but kind of been watching construction. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with how Alton Towers has been able to market this attraction, the amount of detail and effort that they put into marketing and theming out this attraction just looks absolutely phenomenal. It's just crazy how to see a park put this much effort and dedication into theming an attraction, and honestly, I love it. I think that is, like, one of the coolest things. And also, as the ride, I don't know if it's officially reopened yet. I don't really follow too much going on in the Europe community. But, this was one project that I definitely wanted to follow as far as, like, seeing it test and at least open for previews. And yeah, wow, the theming there is amazing. It's on the level of something that Universal could create. It's just like, and then that Nemesis creature by the station is really cool. And overall, I would just say Alton Towers did an awesome job, at least from the pictures that I've seen. I hope someday to be able to get out there and experience Nemesis as Reborn. Now, as you can see, I finally realized that, not everything's really lining up properly. So I'm going to go back and try and reprofile the final turn and the splashdown and try and get it all to line up properly. This was the biggest part that I struggled with, even in the last episode, in episode 1 of doing this. Just trying to get it to line up at the end. And I think that I've finally come to something that I'm happy with and something that I like. And you'll see that finished product here in a few minutes. Now, jumping back over here to the United States, Top Thrill 2, we have finally got an official posting of testing. And wow, that thing looks really good. Even on a cold day with a pretty empty train, the ride goes up pretty far. I mean, like Superman, I imagine that the ride has, like that issue where it's not going to go up as high as the top of the tower, as the top of the spike. So, that should have been expected. And anyone who's really complaining about that, well, you should have expected that, they're not going to be able to get it to go all the way up to the top. They just aren't. Or not even that they're able to, they just won't. It's just not something that's really going to happen. It's not something that the parks really end up doing when they design these massive coasters with a massive spike. They just don't. But it's like, we've watched the silver train test. We haven't got official video of the blue train testing yet. Or not fully. We've seen the Franken train, but those trains look awesome. Just super shiny and much larger than the old ones, so they look even more daunting, absolutely flying down that launch track. And I seriously can't wait for the ride to open and get on it, because I'd be interested to see how it rides, and if it's as smooth as the old dragster. Now, obviously, we're not going to get headbanging like on King Ka, because we don't have the OTSRs over the shoulder restraints. It's just a pull-down lap bar. But watching the testing video, and yeah, I would say it fishtails pretty bad, which is where, like, King Ka's launch track shakes. Dragster's launch track doesn't shake, but the train definitely shakes back and forth on the track a little bit. So hopefully it's smooth. I'm hoping that it's not super rough. But I will have to definitely wait and see how the ride is once it opens. But just because watching it fishtail while testing does not deter me from saying that this could take a spot as one of the best coasters at Cedar Point, and may even be better than the original. We'll just have to wait and see for when it opens. Over at Six Flags Great Adventure, Track has finally shown up on site for their new generation Vekoma Super Boomerang. This will be the U.S.'s first Super Boomerang, and I believe only the second one ever built in the world. Although I don't know when I'm going to be getting back to Great Adventure. I hope to sometime soon, because that actually looks like a really good coaster. Although I hope Six Flags does not clone it to death like they did the old ones. Because while, yes, it is a very cool coaster, it is also a very short coaster. So, like, it's not really something that they need to clone the heck out of. And they should, you know, really keep it like a relatively unique ride. Over at Dorney Park, Iron Menace has seen its first test runs completed just yesterday, as of when I'm recording the audio for this segment of the video. And, wow, let me tell you, that thing looks like it whips. Like, a lot more than the older dive coasters, for sure, because Sheikra definitely does not have the same whip as the new smaller track dive coasters like Dr. Diabolical and Emperor. But man, does Iron Menace look like it whip even more than Emperor and Dr. Diabolical. It's crazy just watching that train, like, absolutely just get hauled over that first drop. And then whipping through all the inversions, the way it takes them is such a unique dynamic for the dive coaster. It's really awesome to see. And hope to get to Dorney within the next year or two. Do maybe a little Pennsylvania trip to Kennywood, Knoebels, Hershey, and Dorney. Sounds like that actually wouldn't be a bad trip. Especially for Iron Menace. Because let me tell you, that looks like a really good dive coaster. But I believe that is all for the recent coaster news that has been happening. So now, why don't we go talk about the Seven Seas Food Festival? Like last week, I talked about Mardi Gras. This time, I think it would be good to kind of just give you my thoughts so far this year on this year's Seven Seas Food Festival. So, they've kind of changed the layout of the event a little bit, and by layout, I don't mean, you know, where the booths are located. They're always changing that. They're always in different spots every year, but what I mean by layout is how many food tasting punches you get. So in previous years, it was always 5 for the small one, 10 for the large, and then 12 for pass holders at the same price as 10. This year, the small, and by small I mean like, you know, more or less tabs, gave you 10 tabs. The large gave you 15 tabs, or punches, and then the pass holder gave you 18 for the price of 15. We bought the $18 or 18 punch pass holder card, which starts out at $85, but once you get through tax and their annoying 5% surcharge on all food and beverages, it jumps up to $95. And let me tell you, just using, I think it was 8 to 10 of our tabs so far. We have not used very many of them yet. Or we haven't used all of them. We used probably a little over half. We've already spent like close to $130 on food. Like, you know, let's say if we had bought the food straight up without the tasting lanyard, we would have spent over $130 at this point if we bought all the same food. So the conversion rate is very good. And like I said, the food this year is pretty decent. If you want a coaster cocktail, I tried the non-alcoholic Penguin Trek version, and unfortunately it just tasted like Sprite, but I'm sure if you got the actual full size and not the sample size, because the sample size is absolutely tiny, if you got the full size in the pouch, it would probably taste more like the blue raspberry it's supposed to be. So that was pretty mediocre, but the Italy booth was hitting it yet again with those amazing Fontina cheese meatballs that are there every year. And they have a really good, I think it was, oh, I don't remember now. I think calzone maybe is what they were calling it. I don't know. It was basically like a pierogi, but deep fried and covered in, or filled with cheese and a little bit of meat. And that was probably one of the better things at the event. And then at the Irish booth, because we were there on St. Patrick's Day weekend, they had a little shepherd's beef pie. And that was really good. Unfortunately, that is not going to be there for the rest of the year because it was only there for St. Patrick's Day weekend. Over at the Brazil booth, we tried the, I'm going to try and pronounce this right. I'm sorry if I don't. Pão de queijo. They're little, like, fried dough balls filled with cheese and then topped with this amazing guava jelly. Like, they were just phenomenal. And then my mom tried the walking gyro, and she said it was okay, but mostly pita chips. And we tried a chocolate-dipped foot-long pretzel, and that was pretty good. Very messy, so be prepared and try and cut it off the stick, because it comes on a giant stick, and yeah, no. Don't try and eat it on the stick. It's almost impossible to. They have to literally give you 2 plates to put it all on. It's ridiculous. But, you know, it's fun. Like, it's ridiculously fun. But they have many other items besides that, including alcoholic drinks and some different desserts. Unfortunately, of course, we did not get to try everything last time. And we will definitely be back later in the season to use up the rest of our tasting lanyard, because it is very good this year. It's pretty close to the quality of the first year, but still not quite there. But it does run until May 19th. So if you come down and have a big party or just want some food, then get a tasting lanyard. But as you can see now, we just finished up the bottom of the first drop, and this is about as far as I'm going to get for this episode. And I'll see you all next time on another adventure.